Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everyone, I am really thrilled to introduce today's guest, Sandy Seeber-Quayle. Sandy is a specialist in developing middle managers and fostering effective thinking habits. With diplomas in organizational behavior, coaching, and training, she brings a lifelong passion for human behavior and impactful communication. Oh, I love that. Over her 20-year career, Sandy has coached sales teams at Apple, trained managers at Aegon, and managed operations and business development for a multi-million policy portfolio at CNP Santander Insurance. Sandy excels at transforming challenging relationships into collaborative partnerships and delivers impactful training, leveraging strong facilitation, communication, and organizational skills. Fluent in both German and English, she empowers middle managers using the Cuba pilot strategy for exceptional results. Please join me in welcoming Sandy Seeber-Quayle. Welcome, Sandy.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. And I want to note that you are joining us from your home in Ireland. What part of Ireland are you in?
It's just in Dublin, the north, as a little town in the north side of Dublin in Malahide, so right at the sea. Really beautiful area, and a lot of people venture there for a little bit of seaside feeling on the weekends.
Well, I expect I'll be coming to visit you there sometime. I have it very high up on my list to go to Ireland. So I look forward to that. I look forward to that day. So Sandy, as you know, on Work from the Inside Out, we love to talk about the early years. So tell us a little bit about your formative years and how they may or may not have informed where you are today.
Yeah, I will do. And I was thinking a little bit about it. What actually I take out of my early years. But the main topics, I would say, were taking early responsibility. My parents, they got divorced when I was 7, and I'm from Eastern Germany as well. So at the time, the wall was still there. So it was still the GDR. And so divorces were really quick. So if you wanted to go to get a divorce, you could just pretty much go, and next week you were divorced.
Wow.
That's really, really quick. So I just started school, and the next thing that happens is that my parents pretty much a month later are divorced. And from this moment on, my life did make a big turn. And my mom didn't really... she had a bit to deal with this separation of my dad, and she was then a single mom of me, a nearly 7-year-old girl, and my younger brother, who's 4 years younger than me.
Oh wow!
And my dad, who didn't actually move very far, but he was from one day to another out of my life. And he was there, so I could always go and see him, but he wasn't really coming to visit and take care of us. So I had to take pretty much very quickly a responsibility and do things that I didn't like to do. Like when you are 7 years old, you don't really want to take responsibility for your brother. You don't really want to have him always with you.
Not a 3-year-old, no.
No, and you don't really want to go and do dishes and helping in the household while all your friends are sitting outside and playing. And I remember one day I was to do the dishes after lunch, And I was sitting at a window watching the kids outside playing. It's like, I want to be out there, not inside. And then my mom came and said, if you do the dishes, you can play outside. It won't take very long to do the dishes, but it will take the whole afternoon if you are sitting there at the window watching them play. So
that's a good point.
Yes, absolutely. And my mom loves to tell me the story, and it is true. It was like I was always kind of dreaming of doing something different that I had to do. Yet I had to do what I had to do. In other words, I learned very quickly how to be very efficient with the tasks that I had to do, but didn't want to do. And that traveled through pretty much all my life until now. So that's one of the very big ones as early as this. But then when I was 11, that was the year the wall came down, so everything changed. But before that, everything changed. I pretty much had an accident and nearly broke my back, which it didn't, fortunately. But at the same time, so my mom was moving in with her new partner, and it was one of those summer moments, you're just before the summer starts, so you haven't really gotten into the summer holidays yet, and you didn't say goodbye to your friends in school, but this happened, and the next thing that happens is the summer is there. I don't see my friends at school. I go on a holiday camp and come back, and we are living in a new village. It wasn't too far away, but it was completely out of my world. So we live in a new village. I'm going to a new school, and later that year, in November, the wall comes down, and even the country that I used to live in changed forever. So, and it followed with that. I followed a quite, products that we were used to get in the supermarkets disappeared. The currency that we were used to disappeared. Jobs that my mom would have been working in disappeared. So there was a lot of changes happening in a very short period of time.
Wow.
And there wasn't much like I didn't have the friends in school that I used to have either to deal with it. So I had to adapt. So I learned how to adapt in a new environment quite quickly because I had to.
Well, it's interesting though. Some kids, you say I learned to because I had to, but I think some kids didn't, in a situation like that. Now, I would say your situation was highly unique because not only did you, all of a sudden we're in a new place with everything feeling new, but your mom had a new partner who maybe you knew beforehand, but still it was like this whole new life with this other person in it. And then you had to make new friends. And, even the soap you used was different or whatever, right? And I could see where some people might have, some kids might have said, I just couldn't adapt, or I didn't know how to adapt, and it sounds like you just sort of rose to the occasion in whatever way you needed to. But so it's like, I don't take that for granted that you did that, because I can see where some kids might have had a harder time, or maybe their parents didn't know how to help them adapt, or, I think about you sitting at the window watching your friends play while the dishes don't get done, and your mom just reframed it for you and said, well, she's teaching you some responsibility, but also saying, hey, if you do this one thing, you get to do the other things. And it's like, hey, I hadn't thought of it that way, So I'm curious, what do you think enabled you to adapt?
Well, I'd say at the time, so I was 11 at the time, I was quite self-conscious, but at the same time, I didn't have that great relationship. So my mom was super wise and she was very responsible,
Yeah.
but she had quite a tough time
Mm.
dealing with that breakup earlier. And
Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
I was starting, even before we moved, I was starting to get my support system outside in my environment from kids, from people I knew, so in around me. So it was more externally. So going home wasn't always like, oh yeah, I'm going home, I'm happy to be home. So I was kind of nearly like sometimes, then I have to do the dishes, as one example.
Right.
So I had to go outside to find those people to help me. I don't want to say survive, but to help me to grow and to be there
Right.
and to have fun and to have that support, if you will, because I didn't trust it that I get that from home.
Yeah, I
And
hear you.
and I hope I say that right, because my mom was always there for me, but I at the time didn't see it that way.
Sure.
So
well, when you're 11, you're also on the verge, your body, your mentality, everything's starting to change. And so you start questioning everything on top. So the wall came down, you're turning 11. It's like, what else could be changing? I mean, you were in a swirl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Swirl of changes. I mean, inside and out, so to speak.
That's very true. Yeah, I didn't see it from the inside. I was just looking at the outside. It's very good. So I'm just I need to reflect on that a little bit. But yeah, it was. What did I do? I needed to have those friends. I needed to have those people. I needed to fit in, to have some form of normality in my life. And that really pushed me. And that pushed me past fears, because I remember my first day in school, in that new school. I was so nervous that how do you say that? I'm not ashamed of it, but I really I pooed my pants really on my first day in school.
Wow.
And then one of the girls had to come with me to the bathroom, and I tell you, that was the most, at that moment, a moment in my life where I was like, oh my goodness. But again, there were people there who helped me, who had some for some reason some clothes with them.
Wow.
To give me some, and from there it was then getting easier and easier.
Yeah.
But when you have this once done, so if you once felt the support in a new environment and you were able to adapt, it is so much easier to do any time after that.
I bet. I mean, how fortunate for you that you felt that support, that compassion,
Yes.
I almost feel teary for that little girl, who had been through so much, not of her own doing, and that you got that support that day.
Yeah.
That's pivotal,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. That's an important story. And yet it sounds like it also was a source of strength for you too, that experience of being in a new school, being so anxious, and yet having, a very embarrassing experience, and being anxious at the self-conscious at the same time, and then getting that kind of support and feeling like, oh, I'm not completely alone here.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wasn't thinking of sharing this, but I think it was just coming out in the right moment, isn't it? Yeah.
It's an important story, though, and it goes to show you, though, that how many of us, have in one way or another been in a new situation where there's so many changes going on around us that we lose control of ourselves in one way or another, or we just don't know how to kind of guide ourselves forward. And it's nice to know there's somebody else there who can support us and that we can be open to that support.
Absolutely.
I think too often we think we're supposed to do it all ourselves and we don't ask for help. And you were in a situation you absolutely needed help. So how nice that there was somebody else there to help. And look, you're still here today. So something must have gone well.
No, after this, I wasn't too stressed in meeting new people anymore at all. So because I had to go to a different school because the school system also changed. And I think very soon after, so it's probably 1 or 2 years after that. And so I went into a school where I met with some of my earlier childhood friends again.
Wow.
And that was great. But then we had to move. So my mom separated from her partner, and we had to move. We moved into a small town. So before I was living in villages, now we're in a small town, and that was when it became a little bit too far for me to go to the other school because I had to travel every day. And so I just changed schools again.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of changes there. And I went to another school then in the town where I met again some of the people I've seen in my second school. So it was really interesting to see. It's just those times where things are going one way and then another. And I had a bit of struggle in school as well. So I did at the end when I had my exam, I didn't actually pass the most important subjects, so which were German and English. So and I had to go into you can just repeat your exam. So I repeated the German exam and I made it through. So I had not so much a great degree there at the end of school, but it was at least I passed. So, and that was a really important thing. But then it was, you're talking about 96. So Eastern Germany and Western Germany had then come together quite well, but there weren't a lot of jobs. And it was really hard for me to find somewhere to work. And in Germany, we do have a system called, we do have a lot of apprenticeships. So you go to work and to school pretty much as a dual system. And I considered university, but nobody in my family ever studied. They were all working in factories, or they were truck drivers, or, and so I wasn't really sure, how to finance it. So there was nobody really in my immediate circle to help me to figure that one out. And so I applied for a number of jobs, and I was really lucky, and I got into an insurance company as an insurance sales clerk, if you will, or a salesperson, and did an apprenticeship there for 3 years.
So was that technically, I mean, obviously this is what we do in the US. We say, well, how does that relate to the American system? Because we think we're the center of the universe here sometimes, which I don't agree with, but that's the system I know best. So forgive me. I have spoken with other people who grew up in Germany who shared similar stories with me about apprenticeships, and I find it fascinating. And I think it's a wonderful way to get introduced to the world of work, rather than just jumping into university. I actually wish more kids, especially at that age, would get some real world experience first, rather than just going right into another classroom. But that's just my opinion. And so you were probably, when you started with the insurance company, this was right after what we would call high school. This was, 16, 17, 18 years old or so?
So I was 18, so like the German system would say it's to get into university, you have a certain level of primary or secondary education. So in Ireland, we say it's leaving cert. In the UK, it's the A level. In Germany, it's the Abitur. I have no idea how it relates to the US, though. So it's pretty much the more. So when you finish school and you are educated to the point that you can go to university.
Right. And that's the same thing here, is for the most part, that you graduate from what we call high school or senior high school, and you're about 18 years old. Some people graduate a little earlier. Our friend Dory Clark was, I think, about 14. She is exceptional in that way. But most people are probably, at the very younger end, usually maybe 16, 17, and then 18 is typical. And then they go to university or a community college or some kind of technical training, or just go to work or enter the military, but something that moves them forward. Something that's not their parents' couch, hopefully. So at 18, you spent a few years in the insurance business, and you were apprenticing, and you see that as a fortunate thing, which is great. So tell us where you went from there.
I actually ended up staying there for 11 years.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So it was. So it wasn't. It was a branch, quite close to where I'm from, and so with probably about 40 tied agents and about 10 people in the office. So it was a really nice family atmosphere. And I had a good opportunity there to grow, and the people were really nice.
Yeah.
And well, I had my challenges as well,
sure,
as the good times. But after the 3 years, I really didn't know what else to do, and they offered me to stay on and to act as a sales agent. So which was great. So I had a job. So I went out and meet people and sell insurance and extend insurance covers. So that was really a fantastic time. So I really loved the engagement with the people. So I loved to learn how they lived and where they lived. And obviously there was a lot of that's not obvious for anybody, for your listeners. So I need to expand on this. But the insurance were everything to do with personal and private insurance. So we were doing house insurance, liability insurance, accident insurance. So Germany is an insurance market. So everybody has loads of insurance policies.
Oh, so
car insurance.
I see. So because I know, a lot of us think of places like Germany where, everybody has health insurance, right? Like a national healthcare system. But beyond that, you're talking about all kinds of other personal insurance. So you were selling to individuals, families. You were doing. You were selling to consumers. It wasn't business to business.
I was mostly probably about 80% consumers, and we had 20% was really maybe entrepreneurs, even though I didn't know that what an entrepreneur was at the time. Also, it's like sole traders and very small businesses. But my area would be more going to families and private consumers there. Yeah.
And really being a resource to them, I would imagine. I mean, I know my husband and I, we have an agent that is our go-to person on all of our insurance needs and trying to understand what we need or how we might need to change a policy. And you develop those relationships. And if those go well, those people are worth gold.
Yes, absolutely. What my job was to help the agents that were out there. So I wasn't at a specific area for a long time. So when some like an agent went into retirement or there was a customer or an agent didn't have enough bandwidth to deal with all the customers. So that's when I just helped out. And I did that for probably about, I don't know, 2 years. And then I thought like, yeah, I don't think so. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
And that's when changes happened again internally in the office. So there was like pretty much an office job was free, and this was the right hand of the branch director. So pretty much everything to do with organization and management, and I found that very fascinating. And at the time, I was also studying to become a specialist, an insurance specialist.
Oh.
So it's pretty much a bachelor level in the insurance area.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to use some of those skills and knowledge that I got there, and so I got that role, and that was fascinating. It fascinated me to go into the management side of things, like looking at budget planning and the strategic planning, and how to communicate to the sales force, how to communicate internally, how to communicate with the headquarters. Back then, we still had those tape recorders, so the branch director would record the letter, and then you would type it, and then they would review it. So I learned a lot about effective communication and make it even more effective to bring the message across. There was a lot of other stuff like how to pay commissions, how to calculate some of the extra money they were getting, and it was a fantastic time. And after I had moved through this part, I got a little bit itchy feet again, and wanted to do something different.
Sure.
And at the time, I started also teaching insurance. It's all at the same. So I had like it was very in parallel. So after I finished my studies, I started to pretty much teach and train the apprentices that came into the office. But I also did for the association, for the insurance association locally. I started to train the new apprentices on how to do the sales, the customer meetings, how to build that up, how to structure it. And we did all those video recordings. So it was really fun. And then I started to even lecture on the insurance specialist bachelor program. So, which was really fantastic because I was very young at the time, and mostly the students there, they were a lot older and more experienced than I was. So it's really interesting.
Oh, wow.
So that was cool.
Like through the association, like there were. So you were teaching people who might even be older, but maybe were transitioning into the insurance business or into various aspects of it, or.
Exactly, but mostly there were people that were just when the wall came down, they were just falling into the insurance world, but didn't have any qualification. But now a regulation started to kind of require these, and it was good practice to have a qualification. And some of those very experienced practitioners, they were sitting in my class, and I remember my first ever lecture I was the youngest person in the room, and that can be a bit daunting when you're sitting there.
Yeah, but you took it on.
I did. And at the end, everybody enjoyed my classes because I was more collaboratively teaching. So I was looking at discussions and finding ways of talking about the topics rather than standing there and just reciting something that comes out of a book. And it was very enjoyable, not only for the students, but also for me.
Oh, wow.
And everybody loved it at the end. Yeah. And after everything around the same time, but no, after I had done like 2 years of the being the right hand of my boss, pretty much, who was very good. He gave me a lot of autonomy and freedom to do what I needed to do or wanted to do. So I could try a lot of things. I felt like, I need to change again.
Uh-huh.
So I went as a sales manager into the field again, helping now the agents to bring in their targets in personal insurances. Like this time we were talking about retirement insurance covers, or even health insurance, additional health insurance to upgrade their
the national plan.
The national, exactly. So it was really interesting as well. And so 10 years later, I'm still there. I'm still getting a bit of itchy feet again. But I don't know what to do. So I have no clue where to go and what to do. And it's very comfortable as well. Now, after 10 years, you know the business, the important people in the headquarter, everybody knows you as well. And then I go traveling, and I'm actually traveling on a high noon trip to the States. So it's my first time in the States. So I fly into San Francisco and go on to a hiking, sleeping in tent tour around the West. So it's pretty much, was like California, Arizona. Is it Arizona? Yeah, we went to Monument Valley. Monument Valley.
Yeah.
Then we went to Canyonlands and the Grand Canyon and Bryce Canyon, and so all those really nice
national
places,
parks, and
exactly. And I fall in love with this guy from Switzerland who was a tour guide in a parallel tour. And so we get to talk, and he's like a long time traveler, and who ended up then always working for a few months as a tour guide and then kept on traveling.
Wow.
And he says to me, well, to figure out whether it works with us, we need to travel for 3 months. And I'm like, I can't do this. I have a job. I have my family. I have a car. I have a small apartment I need to take care of. I can't just go. And he says, why not? And I didn't have an answer. So the next thing what happens, I give everything up in Germany. Obviously, I plan ahead because I needed a little bit of money. So I planned ahead, and in 2007 then, I actually just left with a 20-kilogram backpack on a flight to New Delhi in India. And it was the first time ever going on a backpacking trip. And even like when a year earlier, I met this guy, and he was saying, like before I went to the States, I met this guy, and he's saying, "Oh, I was in the jungle in Thailand," and I was like, "What? All by yourself?" so I couldn't. At that moment, I wasn't really. I was so limited in my thinking that I couldn't even see anybody going on their own traveling. And but here I was going to India, New Delhi, and all by myself, and figure out I can do it. I really can. So it was fascinating. So my new boyfriend came about 3 days later. So I had 3 days on my own exploring India, like daily, and it was great. It was fantastic. Like if I met some other traveler, and we just went to some places together, and I paid my entrance fee, when they really rip you off, because you kind of don't know what to expect, and then you pay a lot more than you actually should. Well, anyway, so it was a great experience. And then my boyfriend came in, and we kept traveling together for 4 months. And after that, he had to go back to work, and I had a little bit more time left. So I went to South America, and kept on traveling for, in total, it was 808 days.
Wait. 808 days?
Yeah, I checked it out at some point. Yeah, I didn't know at the time. But yeah, it's a little bit more than 2 years. So 2 years and 2.5 months.
So you said you kept going.
I kept going. Exactly.
4 months turned into 2 years.
Yes.
So did you work along the way to keep going, or how did you? I'm like, how did you do that?
So I travel like I traveled without working for about a year,
Mm.
a little bit more than a year, and this boyfriend didn't work out. We were really good
Oh.
friends nowadays, but we
Oh.
didn't actually.
Oh, and I'm thinking you're telling me this is your husband, and
No, it gets better though.
okay.
Because when I was in so I was traveling in South America and I met my now husband
Ah.
in Bolivia.
Oh.
So yes, exactly. And I didn't really think we will meet again, but then we met again. Like we met in a silver mine, and then a few weeks later, we met again at Lake Titicaca, and then a friend from Germany came over to travel with us, with me, and then somebody called my name, and she was saying, "Wow, somebody's calling your name. That's so cool." And I'm like, "Oh, oh, no, 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 we're not going there. I don't understand a word he's saying. He's from Liverpool." So they have a very strong
Yeah,
accent. So
yeah.
at
I
the
know
time,
that
I couldn't
accent. Yeah.
understand him.
Wow.
So, and she's like, "No, no, no, that's so cool. Let's go, let's go." So then we started actually to chat on Facebook a couple of times. Then we met a third time, and then this time we did actually met by appointment nearly.
By
So, and then
appointment.
we wasn't an appointment, but we arranged, and so we went hiking in the mountains in the Andes in Peru, and then we kept on traveling together, and somehow we figured out that there is something working out for us.
Oh, wow. Well,
And
I
we are
think
still together now. Yes.
right. Well, it's funny. I mean, I think one of the best tests of a relationship is to travel with somebody, because you have to make so many decisions along the way and work together, and you have to have some similar values in order to, I think.
Yeah, it's very true.
So,
Yeah.
so you met in Bolivia, and then a couple weeks later, your lives converged again, and but then the third time you met by appointment. Is that right?
Yes. Well,
Oh,
if you
okay.
want to call it an appointment,
Well,
but
I
we
mean,
arranged. Yeah.
intentional,
Yeah.
intentionally
Intentionally.
versus just running into each other, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Wow.
and then when I came to the end of my money, I was like, I probably need to go home. And he was like, "Well, you're still young enough. You can get a working holiday visa in Australia." And I was at the time I was now 30,
Uh-huh.
and I had pretty much 6 months left to go to Australia on a working holiday visa. So I applied while I was traveling, and I was granted the visa, and I went to Australia pretty much then in 13 months in traveling, and I didn't have as much money. So I needed to find a job, and I found a job very quickly. And there are lots of more stories, but I'm not going into it because we will be here for 2 hours.
But what you're pointing to is, it wasn't just about having enough money. You have to have a lot of resilience and your wits about you all the time. You're going to all kinds of new places all the time, places where you don't speak the language. And yet when I think about the fact that there you were 11 years old and the wall goes down, you're going to new schools every couple of years. Your mother is while she's there for you when it comes to, your safety and your well-being, and you feel loved, there's another sort of layer and level of you feeling like you've got to have certain needs met elsewhere, and you're kind of you're as a child already trying to find your way in the world in different ways that maybe other kids don't. And nothing against your mom at all. It's just this is the path that you were on, and it sounds like you navigated it beautifully given all the changes. And yet it's like your entire life, the whole theme was change way beyond your control, within your family, within your country. And then it seems like in a way, it was almost a natural thing for you with the insurance industry. Every couple of years, you're like, okay, I'm ready for something else. I'm ready for something else. But it wasn't, it feels like it was very organic in some ways. But I was really floored when you said, well, I went for 4 months. Oh, and then I kept going for 2 years. Like, whoa. Because, there's, traveling, as exciting as it can be exhausting if you're living out of a backpack all the time, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that is what happened then. So after Australia, we went, like my now husband.
Yeah.
He followed me to Australia, and then we did a little bit more traveling after about 7 or 8 months working. And so we went. I went back to India, so it's my last country actually before I went home. But that was then the time where kind of like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I want to go home, and I also started writing on my novel. So I was just like, and I want to. I wrote in German, so I wanted to get it also published. And there was I need to go back to Europe. So I really wanted to go back, and I had no interest for new places anymore. So I got really fatigued of the traveling. So. And I wanted to go home. And my husband kind of like, but what do you want to go home for? It was December 2009. So that was a really bad time when you're looking at the financial crisis and everything. So it was a huge recession in Europe, never mind Ireland. And so, but yet I wanted to go home, and I thought it's the right time to go. And so I went home in December 2009. And funny enough, I just got a job hired on the spot in Apple in January 2010 in Ireland. So it's just like everything, like life really just pushed me on and helped me on and take the right decisions. And it was fantastic. So I came to Ireland in early 2010 when everybody was trying to figure out how to reorganize their lives. And through the recession, I just got a job on the spot. It was crazy stuff. Yeah.
When you say you just got a job on the spot, I can imagine listeners hearing this. And I've known people who've applied for jobs with Apple, and it seemed like, now I don't know what it was like at that point in time, but I know people who, let's say in the last 5 to 8 years who applied for jobs with Apple. It seemed like they put you through quite a few interviews, that there's quite a process, a probing, let's say, of who you are, not just what you can do. And I'm wondering if you went through anything like that with them, or whether the minute they learned about you and realized how experienced you were in the insurance industry and that you had really immersed yourself in an industry and then spent 2 years plus traveling and, living and engaging with people all over the world. Sure, here's a job, come work for us. I'm just curious how that came about.
I did actually get a rejection first because I applied for a customer service role, and then the sales manager of the sales team just called me up and did an interview on the spot. So he's like, "Oh, do you have a time for interview?" And I was just being with my family at a dinner with like an extended family, and I was just disappearing and say, "Yeah, sure." But
so you were in Germany. You were.
I was in Germany at the time. Yeah.
And were you applying for a role in Ireland on purpose, or?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Because Gary and myself, like my husband and myself, we were looking at a place to live, and I didn't want to be in Germany, and he didn't speak German at the time,
right?
And and Ireland seemed to be the right country for us because he's lived in Ireland before, and so he had a bit of knowledge there. But so I did apply for a job in Apple in Ireland, and that didn't go through. And then I said, oh well, it wasn't meant to be. But I had applied for other roles in insurance as well. And then I got this interview. I think it was the 28th of December that year. So it's just a really weird occasion. But it was great. It was really fantastic. And we were talking probably about 45 minutes on the phone. And And then I was saying, oh yeah, I have this assessment in Ireland on the 7th of January, so I can come for an interview. And so I offered. So I was proactive about it
Yeah,
as
it
well.
sounds like it.
And
Yeah.
and then he said, oh yeah, great, that sounds good. So let me come back to you. And they did. And then I had this interview, and there was probably a little bit of luck there as well. So at the time, there was probably about, when did the iPad come out? Was it maybe a few months before the iPad came out? Definitely, I'm not sure if it came out on 2010 or 2011. I was definitely there when it came out, which was great.
Yeah.
But they needed different languages in their offices in Ireland, because they were operating their online Apple store out of Ireland at the time, with only, I think, one call center in Spain. So they needed German speakers. And I was just happened to be at the right time, at the right place, because they hired, I think, a cohort of probably about 20 people at the time. So, and it was really the right timing. And it was great. It was absolutely fantastic.
But you showed up too. I mean, you said, I will be there. I will make myself available. You stayed open to the possibilities. You know, when you said it was a little bit of luck, I'm thinking about Christian Bush, who wrote the book Serendipity. And I had him as a guest a few months ago. And, you know, the research on serendipity and luck and all of that points exactly to the things that you did, you know, showing up in places, staying open to what's possible, and, you know, not assuming that every door is closed just when one thing doesn't go the way you hoped it would. So clearly you had an impact on that happening. So there you were, January 2010, you set your sights and you set intentions too, to move to Ireland. So that worked out. So you were on the sales team. You were coaching sales teams at Apple, right?
As well as, because I got really quickly into the assistant team manager position. So pretty much 2 months in, I was being asked to help out, which was great. And then I also took that team and managed that team before I left. But during the time, there were a new call center starting up in Berlin.
Oh.
So I went over and trained and coached those new agents there as well. And obviously in our team, we were coaching as well. So it's great. And I found that this coaching is really something that I wanted to do. And that's when I started my coaching diploma during the Apple time. Yeah, I was, and I remember I was applying for a trainer position in Apple. And then the training manager came to me and said, like, look, you have to decide what you want in life, whether you want to be a manager or a trainer. And I think you're a fantastic manager. So here I am, wanting to go into training and coaching, and being pretty much told, well, you know, you're good at managing, just maybe try this. But really my heart is more in the people development side. And then, so I left because my husband got a job in Dublin, and then I wanted to try it as a coach as well. So I had 18 months of trying, and it didn't work out for me. So it was a recession after all. Again, a new city, didn't know anybody, and was maybe a little bit too optimistic. And then I didn't have enough money saved in the few years that I was in Apple to really see it through. And then I just like, I need a job. And I went back into insurance as a sales trainer, a sales effectiveness consultant, as we called it. And that was a really great time, because I learned so much, again, about market research, marketing, and I trained business development managers in the new products that we were bringing into the market, into the German market. And it was a fantastic journey, very great, excellent. managers on the team. I learned so much from them, as much as they learned from me. I hope so. No, it was absolutely fantastic journey, because we had it was a startup branch in Germany, and a completely new product and a new market. So we were working with the high net worth 50 plus market. So it was really, everything was new again, and was really exciting. But then I got a lot of traveling, and I felt like, yeah, I can do that management much better than the people that I was experiencing, and they should do this, and this way. And then I thought, like, oh, I cannot go around and just tell people what to do. I have to prove it that I can do it, and that it works. And that's when I took a leap of faith. And again, I just found an opportunity, and I said, yes, I do this. And that was operation management in an insurance company. And I had never managed operation. And I said, yes, this is my job. And here's why. And the interview process there was a bit tougher to go through.
Yeah.
But at the end, I did get the job, and I made it work. And it was tough. It was really tough. Great company to work for, very appreciative of my skill set, very trusting that I can do the job. And so it was absolutely fun. Yeah, I can't really say it was tough. It was a lot of process improvement, a lot of difficult relationships that we had to work through, so that we can collaborate with each other to make the things work. And again, this was a captive company as well. So CMP Santander works exclusively with Santander banks, and so which means it's again, you are in a situation where you have to make it work. It's pretty going back into childhood, right? So you kind of have to make it work. If you want to have some fun, you have to make it work, and you have to deal with the with the people in your life that are there, whether you like it or not. And at the end, the people that I worked with, including the ones that appeared at the beginning difficult, were amazing people. And I learned so much from sticking to them, and sticking and working through the relationships, and have the patience to work with the people, and then achieving something that probably, when you think about it, it's not possible to achieve, but we did, because we worked together very well. And that was great. And then I moved from the operations management over into business development, business management, which I have done then for the past years before I started my own venture with Cuba Pilot. So, and that was amazing again. And it was really, like, the hardest part was to leave, because the people were great, remuneration was great. I had a lot of autonomy. I could work my strengths. I had great people. Like, really, everything was like everything that they say you need to be happy in a job. I had that there, and it was absolutely fantastic. But I went there. I did the management for a reason. I wanted to prove to myself that I can be a management trainer. So there we are, and that is now where I'm on my journey to make it work for others as well.
Well, and I love that you have all these experiences to bring to the work you're doing now too. You know, I love what you were just saying about, you know, it was really tough. You had to make it work. You just had, and I would say you chose to make it work.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, because I think there are some people who might have found it tough and might not have been able. Not that they weren't able to make it work, but they might have chosen another path. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
you know, you said, look, some people who initially looked like they were tough to work with, or there was, you know, you worked through that. You formed those relationships. You didn't let something where someone maybe who appeared to be difficult or different in some way, and you found a way to work with them, and you moved through it with them. And that was your way. That was your way of doing it. Not everybody can do that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Lots of people give up early or just, oh
Yeah.
no.
Well, they give
Exactly.
up. Some people give up and they ought to give it more time. I agree. A lot of people give up too quickly. At the same time, some people take a good look inside and say, you know what? This just isn't for me. This is
Yes.
not where I want to be. And so I think there's a difference though between giving up and really checking in with yourself and saying, I know I need to do something different. And so what I love about what you're pointing to is that you told yourself you had to make it work because that's who you are. You had to see it through, as you've done so many things in your life where there was a combination of things. There was a need to make an income and need to see something through. There were those things in our lives we have control over and those things we don't. You've had a lot of things, especially your early years, that were not within your control, and you had to make those things work. And so I think that's sort of part of your DNA now, right? In some ways. But then you arrived at this point now, or more recently, where you had this on the horizon for a long time. I mean, back when you moved to Dublin, right? You wanted to hang up your own shingle and you wanted to teach other people and support other people. And
Exactly.
not that you didn't do it as a manager. It's funny when somebody said to you, do you have to decide whether you want to do management or training. And I'm thinking, well, they recognized your talent as a manager, but I could see you taking that talent into the classroom or into coaching and saying, because you have to have those good management skills to be able to coach people and to be able to train and to run a classroom or to design a training. You have to have that kind of mindset in order to do those things. So to me, they go hand in hand. I don't think you had to choose one or the other. I think it was a both and you did it. You did it all. So tell us about Kuba Pilot and what is Kuba Pilot strategy for exceptional results and all of that. And we want to also make sure that we talk about your novel and your other writing too. So
Oh my goodness.
Tell us everything.
Everything. Yeah. So let's talk about Kuba Pilot. So Kuba Pilot is actually an acronym, and it stands for Know Yourself, Understand Others, Build Connections, and Align Decisions.
And know yourself. I'm writing as the U is
understand others.
Understand others.
Build connections.
Nice. I love this.
And align decisions.
Ah, that could be a tattoo.
Yes, it could be. And the pilot is pretty much coming from I love flying. I love not that I can fly, but I love being in an airplane, and I love airports, and I love seeing airplanes. I was only 22 when the first time when I actually flew. But there is something really fascinating when you're flying for business a lot. You might notice, but everything is very organized before the plane takes off.
Yeah.
Everything is controlled, organized, right. And there are checklists and there are procedures. Everything is really there. And when the plane actually takes off, there's nothing really that you can do. The pilot is just making sure the plane gets up into that cruising altitude. And once it's at that cruising altitude, it's the most hostile place a plane can be. And so what does the flight attendant tells us? Enjoy your flight. What does the pilot do? They are sitting in their cockpits. Everything they could have done, they have done. So, but now they have so much mental space to be there to monitor their progress, to check what's going on outside, to make sure that they reach their destination. And that is pretty much what Pilot does. It helps you to take, instead of jumping to a conclusion, we have a problem, we need to do X, Y, Z. Take that one little step back and just check in with yourself and check in with others, build the connections, trying to figure out what are others thinking. Do I need to take something into account? And then what decision do I make? Do I make now a decision that is now fixing the problem, but at the end of the day I don't reach my destination? Or do I make a decision that might be taking a little bit more, but I reach my destination nevertheless? So and this methodology is really helping us to remain calm when we are in the midst of chaos, like a pilot at cruising altitude.
Right.
And that part of that, this is pretty much the Pilot strategy.
I love
and it
it.
helps us also to go when we have a lot of biases, and the biases are really important for us to survive. So it's a very efficient way for our bodies to function and our brain to function. Well, when we have when we continuously using the Pilot strategy, we help ourselves to create an effective thinking habits to overcome those biases, because we are including other people into our considerations. And so we are taking the collaborative approach rather than just taking, I know best, and I just go forward.
Right. And that's what a great framework for checking your assumptions and not jumping to conclusions too quickly, and really coming from a place of really your most genuine self. I know the word authenticity gets used a lot these days, but it does give you a chance to really connect more genuinely with yourself and then take actions from that place.
Exactly.
Or what I often call, a more grounded place, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my goodness, I love this. So this is your strategy. You work with middle managers primarily in organizations. Do you also have private clients as well that you work with, or is it mostly within organizations?
So ideally is within an organization. So the best way of utilizing the Pilot strategy is actually at work, using work. So the ideal situation would be if I am with the manager right at their workplace. So let's say we meet on a weekly basis for half an hour, and we take the most pressing issue that they have, and we are using the strategy. We're going through the Pilot. So we're checking in, know yourself, understand others. And then take it from there, which then goes more in the analytical part, the building connection and the line decisions.
Wow.
So and then continuously doing this for week after week, ideally for about 3 months is probably the sweet spot. Then this thinking method becomes a habit. And once we have a habit, we are not jumping to conclusion, because now we know, I figured out that it works actually to check in with others as well, and then to have a quick discussion about it. So it helps to get the results more in a more relaxed state of mind, because we're taking that moment to do the checkups, the procedures before we actually fly off. And at the same time, we are probably have more effective results because they are more lasting, because we are not jumping to conclusion. We're not going to the quick fix, but we are looking also, how is that going, fitting in with the wider strategy.
Right. Oh.
But I do work with private clients as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know I've read a lot of your blogs. You have a wonderful newsletter that always, you come up with the best headlines, and it always makes me want to read and what you're writing about. And I always feel like you are taking me somewhere just beyond the most conventional thinking, but in a way that really just gets me to question a little bit. I feel like you're always asking people, it really does fit in with what you're saying right now. It's like, don't just assume. take it a step further in your thinking and then decide for yourself what's right. But don't just assume whatever the sort of party line is. And your headlines often reflect that kind of thing. But it's very, it's provocative in a really positive way.
Thank you.
So I really encourage people to subscribe to your newsletter on Substack.
Yes.
And we'll have a good link to that in the show notes as well.
Brilliant.
So
thank you.
We're going to finish up in a moment, but I want to make sure that we covered everything that we wanted to talk about here. I do want to touch on your novel. You wrote a novel in German. You're working on a second novel in English now. And you also write poetry and flash fiction. So I already know you're a great writer because I've read a lot of your writing. Tell us about this part of you as a writer, the creative writer, and also if there's something else that I didn't touch on yet, I want to make sure that we include that in this conversation. So take us there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tammy. The writing is probably my way of making sense of the world when the world doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I did start writing poetry very early on, and I hated poetry in school. So again, and remember, I did fail my exams in German and English what I touched on earlier. But writing is something that that really accompanies me for probably the most of my life. And when I was traveling, I had this fantastic idea of writing a novel, and it just happened that I started then writing while I was still traveling.
Yeah,
and I finished it then a few years later, and it was published in 2013, which is great. And the book is called "The Perspective of Things." That would be a literal translation. In German is "Aus der Sicht der Dinge," and it's about a little girl called Lisa who befriends a teddy bear who was traveling with her uncle around the world, and the friendship starts really with the teddy bear telling her stories about his adventures that he had with the things, like the sunglasses, the backpack, the hiking boots, and all of this helps her to move through the separation of her parents. And so it's a tiny novel. It's not too long. I think it's could probably be nearly a novella, but it has been published, and I had received wonderful reviews for it.
Nice. Have you thought about translating it into English?
Yes, but maybe I did think about it a lot, but the numbers of the sales numbers were not as big enough to kind of going through or finding a publisher who would actually help me with this.
I see.
So. But it is out there, and you never know. Maybe it will be translated at some point. And the second novel that I'm writing, so I have started in the last probably about 2 years or 1.5 years. I have started writing in English poetry, flash fiction, and I even got a poem published in an anthology earlier this year.
Nice.
Which is, so I wait for the book now. So I'm really excited about this. So it's like, oh my goodness, that was really a big one. But, and I started working on a second novel, and this novel is, so I love to work with magic realism. So in the second novel, there is a woman who is a workaholic and is looking for a promotion. And she meets this woman that looks like she's out of the 18th century. And so, and there forms a relationship. And with this relationship, she's starting to change the way she thinks about things, and potentially figures out that there is something else in life than just work. but this is still a work in progress, and the ending is not so clear yet. So, but yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything I can do to be helpful or supportive to you as you continue with that,
brilliant. Thank you.
I hope you will call upon me. And, over time, since the show notes are once they're up, we can always add links to all of these things as they get published, the anthology too. So what is the best way for people to find you and learn more about you and your work?
So the best way is always LinkedIn. So I found LinkedIn is an absolutely wonderful platform, and my profile is easy to find. It's my name, Sandy Seeber-Quayle, and I don't think so there's another Sandy Seeber-Quayle out there. So it's easy to find, and you can follow me, you can connect with me, and I'm open to have a chat. So just send me a direct message. And I have a calendar with Calendly. If you go on my website, it's kubapilot.com, where you can book a slot with me and get to talk with me. There is no obligation. Wow. So I'm very interested in meeting new people. And that's always like, there's so much more coming out of having a conversation. And
I agree.
So that's the best ways. So my website or LinkedIn.
Well, we will include all of that, and a link to your newsletter. Everything will be in the show notes. And I really encourage people to take advantage of all of that, because you are very generous in terms of the content you produce and the kinds of things that you put out and share with people. And I think people can learn a lot from your writing. So I encourage that. So one last question before we wrap up, and that is, and I'm just so excited to hear your answer to this, no pressure. So as you know, this podcast is all about the kinds of changes and transitions that people go through in their professional lives. And of course, our personal lives always have an impact on that. So what would be a key piece of advice that you might give somebody who is considering their next move or next decision to make a change professionally? What would be a key piece of advice for them?
That's a very important question to consider. And I've listened to many of your podcasts and episodes, and I love it. And
I love you for it.
You're very welcome. I love your podcast. I love listening to you and your guests, and the way you bring the best out of them. So really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The one piece of advice that I would always go first is trust yourself. Trust what wants to emerge from the inside. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what work from the inside out. It's really what it is. Trust what is in there, even though it might not feel congruent with the outside world, or people are commenting on it. If there is something that wants to emerge, it will emerge when you allow it to emerge.
Yeah.
What another one point is, because I've been a lot of times in those moments where I'm like getting itchy feet, but I don't really know what the next step is. Also, calm down, have patience with yourself and with what's next. If you don't know what's next, don't jump to something that might be not the right thing. So if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. And the challenges that I had a lot of times was that I get really frustrated and impatient with not knowing what's next. And I try to find a lot of things in my head. So what can I do? And I make all these lists and those brainstormings. It always were different. Every time the new thing emerged, it came by a bit of insight, by meeting somebody who opened that door for me. So it's about have patience, enjoy your time, make the best out of what you've got. If you don't know what's next, just put it out there and say, like, I'm ready for a change, and allow it to happen, and trust that what wants to come out.
I agree.
And then you actually go a better path than if you're pushing just because it sounds right now. This sounds like something good because my friend has done the same. I should do this. No, it might not be the best. Take whatever comes from inside, like trust yourself. In an earlier blog, I was always writing as one of my 5 tips or 7 tips or 6 steps. It was always like one of them. Trust yourself. Trust what's in there. And you, so I show my heart now. So what's in your heart? What wants to come out?
Right. And it will show up if you just stay open to it. It's just sometimes we're so busy thinking. We're in our heads and we don't listen to the rest of us. So on that beautiful note, Sandy, this has been an extraordinary journey with you. I knew I wanted you as a guest on this podcast. I had probably only 30% of an idea what we were going to talk about. This has just been extraordinary. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story from the inside out. And I'm excited to see your next novel and everything else that you're doing. I encourage everyone to really take a good look at what Sandy has to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I appreciate your words, and thank you so much for having me. It was absolutely fantastic. Fabulous conversation with you. I'm looking forward to listen back now.
Yeah, me too. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Sandy Seeber-Quayle. It was really interesting to speak with her and learn about her early life, her work transitions, and what she's doing today. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them in the show notes on my website at tammygulerloeb.com/podcast. Just look for episode 231. Are you anticipating your next professional move? Check out my award-winning book, Work from the Inside Out, Break Through 9 Common Obstacles and Design a Career That Fulfills You. It's available through my website, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, independent bookstores, or you can order it through your local public library. If you were inspired by this episode with Sandy, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and please do subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. Remember, subscribing is always free. If you're enjoying the podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would write a brief and honest review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find. Go to my website, tammygulerloeb.com/podcast. Click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. You can also help sustain the podcast by buying me a cup of coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/TammyGL. Since this podcast is self-funded, your support is acknowledged and appreciated. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. I always love to hear from you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.